I am going to log into Autodesk BIM 360 team. So you can see my screen here, a360.autodesk.com. You can go here and you can start a trial for free, but I'm going to go ahead and sign into my account. And what you're doing when you sign in as a company, you will create a company hub and you'll have an administrator of that hub. And then what you can do is you can invite your own team members in, and you can also invite in your clients. So you're creating a network, if you like. Now you can see the hub that I'm in. It's the Team Greytech AEC. And over in the top of the right-hand corner, you can see my login up there. And if I click on that, you can see the various hubs that I belong to. And the default one is the Greytech one. So you can actually be invited to and become a member of multiple hubs. So you're creating this community. If I go into the settings on the hub, you can set up a time zone. This is for when you're setting meetings, etc., so that people around the globe recognize the time of the meeting locally. It can link to your A360 drive. You can set also your default hub and whether you are active on that hub, etc. If I go through to the administration side, I can alter the name of my hub. And as I said, you can have different members and roles. So I can invite team members. They would need a subscription, and I can invite contributors. These could be your clients. And you can set up here whether a certain project has access by contributors. You can go through and control members and roles via this interface. So you can select someone, you can invite them, invite people in, just type in their email address, etc. You can deactivate them if you want. Information about when they joined and their activity and their role. So you can switch people from project contributors, where you don't have a license. A contributor only has access to a project if invited. Team members can go and create projects and invite other people. I can also look at any pending invitations where I've sent stuff out and people haven't replied, and my sent invites. As far as projects is concerned, I can see a list of all the projects that are on my hub, and those projects I can individually control roles of people within those projects. The project itself can be open, closed, or secret. Open project means that any team member on the hub would see that the project is there and they can request to join it. If it's closed, they cannot request to join. They can only be invited to join. And if a project is secret, unless you're invited into that project, you won't see it that exists on the hub. The project itself, once set up, is active. But for if any reason during the project's life cycle, the project may be put on hold, etc., and you don't want to use up space on your hub, then the project can be put into archive mode. And this takes it away from the front end so that nobody sees the project. It's no longer active, but all your data is secure and it's there. So at any point later on, you can come and reactivate it. You can also archive your entire project once it's complete, and that will pull the entire project down as a zip file onto your local machine or server for your own backups and security. I'm going to go back through to the front end now. So you can see all the projects that I've got on this hub, and I'm going to go into this project here, Udabon. So I'm going to enter that project, and the first thing is you'll see we have a list of folders here, and I can view these either in a list or as icons, so I can move along like so. This is very, very nice and easy to use if you're on mobile devices. So because this is a cloud-based service, you can use any mobile phone or any tablet, and if you go to your App Store, Android or iStore, you can download the BIM 360 Team app directly to your phone or mobile device. Anything I'm about to do can be done via your mobile device as well. So in this particular project, I can go over to this panel here, and I can see the project's information. This is a closed project. It has 6 subfolders. I can see that the project has 9 members, and I can see their roles. So I've got some people as project admin, others are editors, and others are set to just viewing capability. They can't make changes, they can't download, etc. If I click on the activity panel, I can see exactly what has gone on this project, who's done what, affected what files, made changes, etc., and when. Okay, so it's tracking everything that goes on in that list. To the top right, I have a link to discussions. So each project has its own discussion board, and at any point, any member can go and start a new discussion, and then members can then start to reply on that discussion. And what you're doing is you're creating a central environment where all the conversations about your project is being held. So it's almost a common data environment. You may have heard of that term. So rather than emails flying all over the place, using Dropbox, using various different accounts and methods to send information, everything is captured in one area, and it's very easy to locate that information and then access it across the team. Every project also has a unique calendar. Now, you may be using Outlook, etc., and I'm sure that your Outlooks are looking pretty full up with all the various projects that you're on. So here you have a calendar which is dedicated to each project, so it makes it easy to see what is going on. And you can simply click in here, type in event, project review, enter time, date, where this is going to happen, and then hit create. Everybody on that project will immediately receive notification, and it will go into their calendars. Notifications can also be controlled via the account administration. So I can set what I want to be notified on, whether a file is uploaded or downloaded or modified, if someone's made a conversation in a discussion, if there's a meeting event, etc. You have control over it. Otherwise, you would end up with emails every time anybody did anything on the site. So you do have control over that. Now we come to what I think is the really clever part of this service. So unlike any of the other products on the market, as I said, your Dropboxes, etc., I have a series of folders here, and you can upload and download and create folder structures and bring your files in, etc. You can drag and drop straight from Windows. But if I open up one of these folders and I go into here, you'll see I've got 3 Revit models in here, the architectural, the MEP, and the structural model. And here we have the architectural model, and it's telling me this one's currently on version 2. I could download this file if I wanted to. I can go and create a live review. We'll talk about that in a moment. I can also move it, and I can archive it. But if I hover over, and we're going to go and view this model, BIM 360 team uses something called the Large Model Viewer. So this has opened up the native Revit file directly in my web browser. So you can see now I have full control. I can navigate around this model in 3D. It's fluid, it's seamless, there's no slowdown. So Autodesk have developed this viewing engine, which is very, very efficient, even over poorer bandwidth, such as 3G and via mobile phones, etc. So your normal viewing tools come in, so I can roll the wheel, zooming in and out. I can pan around and orbit exactly the same as you can in Revit. I have my view cube and my home button up here. I have a toolbar as well down here which is loaded in, so I can walk around my model, I can reposition. I have markup tools, so I've got full markup capability. My favorite is the ability to add comments onto a model. So here you can see I can either comment on a point, or I can comment on a particular object. So I could come into here, click on that object, only require one fountain, and post that. So that comment has now gone straight into the model and has been captured as comment 1. Anyone coming in and viewing this model can click on that comment and they can start to reply, or I can show it in the feed and I can go through and have a list of all the comments that have been assigned to this particular model. So it's a great way of model review and markup management in that sense. As well as those tools, I have the ability to explode the model and put it apart. Okay, so if you have a complicated structural assembly going on, it gives you the ability to sort of view how that assembly is coming together. We have sectioning tools, so the XYZ plane section box. So if I click on the Z plane, then I can just drag that section up and down and navigate around and into my model. There we go. Like so. Okay. As well as the section tool, I can select objects, I can right click, and I've got a context sensitive menu. So again, comment, I can look at the properties. So this is coming from Revit. So it's telling me that this is a roof. It's telling me it's within a work set, what the construction is, any phasing, materials that have been applied, all the information that you'd get through the properties in Revit itself. I can right click that element and I can hide it. So now we can sort of start to see into the model. And there we have, so if we click on that one, there we go. I can do the reverse and isolate objects, like so. And we can print. And we can also do what is known as a live review. So instead of just myself looking at this model, what I can do is select this button here, which is Share, and click on Live Review. Now this will open up a new tab in my browser, so it's a new session. It's initializing the review. It's going to have me as the host, so I can click on Start. It looks like there's a hand come up. There we go. Let me just check. Hans question. Drag and drop file. Yes, you can drag and drop file. Yeah. I see there was a question there. There's a URL which is generated, which can be copied, pasted into an email, and you can fire that off to all the other stakeholders in the team that are required for that meeting. Now, when they receive the email, they will get that link, and when they click on it, the model will open up in their browser. Even if they're not a member of the project, it will open up using the Autodesk 360 online browser tool. So just as we're doing now, everyone would see a copy of the model, and we can take turns in rotating it, using all the tools that I've just shown you, marking it up, making comments, isolating, exploding, sectioning, etc. So rather than getting in a car and having to drive to someone's office or talking over the phone trying to explain to someone what it is that you're referring to, you can simply start a live session, bring the model up, and navigate them exactly to the point where the issue is that you need to discuss. So yeah, it couldn't be easier. What else can this tool do? Well, another aspect of this is the versioning. So you can see here that I'm currently viewing version 2. And there's a previous version. So I can go and open that up. You'll notice if I go back to the actual folder that it's in, that you only see the current version. Okay, so there's no mistake in accidentally opening up the wrong one. If I click on View again though, let's just open it back up again, you can see here that it's version 2 that's opening. But at any time, I can go and interrogate. So I can say I would like to compare versions, and I would like to compare version 2 against version 1. And you can compare any version back. You also state what type of view you'd like to do this comparison in. So I'm going to do it in 3D, and I'm just going to click on Compare. So you can see it's loaded the model in, and down at the bottom left, it's now loading in and checking the entire Revit database against version 1 versus version 2. And it's going to come back with any changes that have been made. So it's going to look for any objects that have been removed, any that have been added, or any that have been modified in one of 3 ways. The modification could be that it's changed position, or it could be that it's changed its dimensional values, or it could just be that it's had its parameters changed. Okay, so here we can see there's a view come up, and I have this change dialog box here, And I'm going to drag this open. And we can see that one object has been added, 44 have been removed, and 11 have been modified. So if I click on the modification types down here, you can see we have shape changes, transformations, and property changes. So if I scroll up and down through this list, okay, so if we come back to this one, there is a chair that says it's been modified. So if I click on that, it will zoom me straight into that chair and highlight it for me. So you can imagine on a large complex model, this is a very useful feature. It's often difficult trying to see, just what's happened between different versions. Over here we have an information panel, which again I can move around, and it tells me the chair, and it shows me that there are changes, and this has been a transformation in position, so it's been moved. Okay. If I want to see how it's been moved, I can simply click between the versions, and you can see that the chair is animating where it was and where it has now been repositioned. Okay. So a very, very effective tool. And again, I can work my way through this list of components and it will navigate me to each one. Obviously that entire table has been rotated around for whatever reason. Here we have objects that have been removed. See, this element has been removed in version 2. So BIM 360 team, data storage, data transfer, viewing, marking up, comments, calendar, discussions, all your information is in one central place. I don't know if we have any questions at the moment that anyone would like to unmute and ask at this point. No. I guess everyone is happy that all your microphones aren't working. Oh, hand raised. There we go. No, no questions? Okay, moving on. So, yes, BIM 360 team can be used just like that. And it can be used with any file format you want, including your Revit files. The issue with Revit files, for those of you that are on Revit out there, is if you are just uploading and downloading your model, but you're working on your own model on your own server, you're uploading a model to another consultant, maybe a structural engineer, to the MEP guy, back to the architect, and you're linking those models so that you have this federated, coordinated model. The trouble is you're most likely only uploading once a week, maybe once a fortnight, but you continue to work. So what happens is you upload your model and the other consultant will download it and link it in and they will work, and then a week later you will upload your model with all your changes, and the first thing that consultant has to do when they download and refresh the link is they have to figure out what you've changed in the past week and has that affected anything they've done in the past week before they can continue working. So this creates this backlog, this sort of time gap, if you like, where there's a loss in productivity and stuff can be missed very, very easily. So we can get over that using a combination of BIM 360 team, as we've just seen, and something called collaboration for Revit. Now, BIM 360 team can come in a subscription on its own. If you subscribe to collaboration for Revit, then it comes with a license of BIM 360 team as well, because team is the engine where your model will reside. So I'm now going to switch and open up Revit. Okay, and I'm going to open up a normal file that is on my local machine, and this could be a single file or it could be a central file with work sets. Okay, and for any of you that are currently using central files with work sets in a team, you'll know that you have the central file on the server with its multiple backups. It's got 001, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And on your local machine, everyone will create a local copy, and that will start having its own backup versions. And each week you will, you're syncing on a daily basis, and each week you will create a new local file and refresh it to make sure that everything is in synchronization. Now that process is okay, but obviously it gets more complicated if you then want to upload a file for someone else to, download and link in on their side. So what Autodesk have done is come up with this tool, this service called Collaboration for Revit. Now what I can do is go to my collaboration tab and I have a collaborate button. When I click that, Revit will allow me to either collaborate locally on my network, create a normal central file, or collaborate via the cloud. And when I click OK, what it will then do is it will look to the cloud, the hub that I'm in, and it will say, you have these projects, which one do you wish to push this file to? So you select your project and you hit initiate. And what that does is it will upload your file and creates it as a central file shared in the cloud. From that moment, anyone wishing in your company to work on that project will choose open, and instead of going via the server or locally, they will click on the BIM 360 team icon. It will show them all the projects that are up in the hub that they have access to. And by the way, if a project is created in a version of Revit, for argument's sake, I'm in 2017, if you're in a different version of Revit, you will not see that that project exists. And that's to stop anyone from accidentally opening up a file in a later version of Revit and hitting save and then stopping the project from being accessed in the version it was originally created in. If you want to upgrade a project to a new version of the Revit file format, you have to download the file, then open it up, and then re-collaborate and push that file back up to the cloud. So it's a safeguard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Autodesk project. I'm going to click on my architectural central file and click open. So what this is doing, this is opening the model directly from BIM 360 team in the cloud. And you can see it's opening the central model. And at the same time, it is opening up this thing called the communicator, which we'll talk about in a moment. Now that has opened up my project, and you can see that was pretty quick. Okay, so there's no real slowdown. And my model is behaving just as fast as it would if it was local in this case. And I can now work in exactly the same way as you're used to. So again, you have access to all your work sets. You synchronize in exactly the same way as you normally would. So if I go to synchronize, you can see here, synchronize with central comes up. Let me just open up, we'll open up that communicator in a moment. If I was going to do a synchronization, I can add some comments if I want. I click OK, and you can see now my model is now synchronizing. Just take note here on the communicator of this little icon here, which is now flashing away merrily. And if I click on it, it says that I have just done a sync with central complete, and it will list me as having done that, and it's put a timestamp on it. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a moment. In case you're wondering, what happened to the days of all of these local copies. The first time anyone opens the model from the cloud, it will download and cache the entire model, and it puts it into a Windows directory. And that is effectively the replacement for a local file, but the user doesn't have to worry about it. They never have to, edit it or worry about where it is or worry about different versions. The moment that cache file is there, anytime that they do a synchronize or they open the file in the future, it will check that cache file against the version that's up in the cloud, and it will just bring down the differences that it needs to. So it's a very efficient way of working. As I said, that cache file is just hidden away. So there's nothing that the users can really do to make the local file corrupt or go wrong in any way. They're literally working directly from the cloud. I mentioned this communicator. So again, if you were going to work with other consultants, then you can insert, and if I was to do a Revit link now, you will see that the standard import link dialog box opens, but Revit is automatically now looking to the cloud to pull a link file from. So the other consultants would put their files up there, and you can see I've got the structural model here, and I've got the MEP one, and I can just open and link those models together. Now, as you're working, let me just set this little communicator to stay on top. As you're working and you're working away, you can see on the first part the active project. This is the one that I'm on, and I can see that I am currently online. My little symbol is green, and everyone else on this project is not online. This would list all consultants for all disciplines. And as I sync, you saw that little timeline flickering, and anyone else who's online will see that immediately. Otherwise, when they log in, they can go to the timeline and see who's been synchronizing and when. Now, you don't want all the linked models just updating in front of you, okay? So what happens is every time you do a sync, you're not necessarily ready to publish that information to the other consultants. You'll be synchronizing every hour or whatever it is, and they don't want to see these changes coming through this fast. So on the Collaborate tab, we have a tool called Manage Cloud Models. So if I go into here, you can see all of my models up on the hub, and I'm going to go into this current project. And there is the architectural model that I've been working on, and you can see that there is the synchronization that I just did, who it was done by. Now, when I'm ready, I can click on this one, and what that's going to do is going to take that synchronization that I've just done, and it's going to publish it. And that will change the version that is on BIM 360 Team. And that is the one that everyone else has access to on the project that they've linked in. So that's me telling everyone, I'm ready, I've done all of my synchronizations, my team have synchronized, we're ready to publish the latest changes. Hit that button, and that is now resequenced on Team and created a new version. If you're wondering about backups, which I'm sure you are, then I can click on the actions here, and I can view versions. So in the background, Team and Collaboration for Revit is keeping track of all the synchronizations and the versions that are going on. So should a file become corrupt, or should we wish to go back to a previous version, we can simply open this up, and via this tool we can hit restore, and the software will then ask us a number of questions about, are we sure this is going to push it up the stack and overwrite previous versions. Once that's done, we can then go back in time. Back in the communicator, this allows you to fully interact with all the other consultants on the project as well. So I could be working in here, and I may have a question with another teammate or someone who's in another office or another consultant. So I can go to the instant message panel. I can choose someone that I wish to have a conversation with, and we can type in messages, and we can also use the capture screen tool. So for argument's sake, I can window around this area and say capture and change panels to glazing. So I can carry out and have a conversation. We can be doing snapshots to each other, so it's easy to see what is going on. And at the end of the conversation, if I want to, I can export that chat history as a record of what was said and what was agreed, etc. So again, it's tracking what is going on. When we're publishing to the cloud as well, the view that it's pushing up to the cloud that others can then see, we have a publish settings button here. If I click on this one, this will allow us to create a publish set, and we can choose from all the views and all the sheets that are in our model, and we can generate a list of all the things that we would wish to be published. So in this case, I have the 3D model, and I have all of my plot sheets that have been selected, and they have been saved into this publish set. So every time I publish from Collaboration for Revit, if I go back into Team, you will see here that not only do I have the 3D model, but I have access to all of the sheets that have been published. So I can click on any one of those, click on this, the 2D view will load up, and we have exactly the same, let me just get rid of that, we have exactly the same viewing tools to pan and zoom, we have our markup capability, we even have our measurement tools down here. So if you can imagine you're on site almost with this, you have access to all of the 2D drawings as well as the 3D, and we can be measuring, we can be marking up, and that's saving it straight into that centralized data environment, if you like, that everybody has got access to through whatever means that they have. So that summarizes both BIM 360 Team and Collaboration for Revit. I'm hoping that's given you a very good overview and excited you into what is capable. It's a very, very simple system to use, but very, very powerful. And I'm now going to open the conversation up to anyone who wishes to ask questions. Thank you for your time.